Our budget hearing before our board meeting. So welcome everyone. We'll call the meeting to order here at 7 p.m. And Kimberly, if you do a roll call, please.
Adam Pumpkin.
Here.
Tammy Hines.
Here.
Andrea Corey. Here. Greg Meyer.
Here.
Scott Middlecamp.
Here.
Lisa Schumacher.
Here.
Tyson Search.
Here.
All right, thank you. I have a quorum. If we'd all rise and take the pledge of allegiance with me, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Welcome visitors, both of you, or all three of you, I'm sorry. I'll press sometimes, I'll be a visitor, so didn't mean to leave you out there, so, but welcome. All right, so we'll start off with our public hearing.
Yeah, the budget's been on display for the last 30 days per Illinois code. There are 3 funds in the red, meaning that the expenditures are more than the revenues, which does not mean that we're going to be, it's dipping into the savings. We do have fund balances there that are doing for that. Fund 60, which is capital projects, we levied for $700,000, but we're going to spend $1.2 million on the new middle school roof. We're redoing the roof at the middle school for $1.2 million, and so that's where we're going to get a deficit in that. I will say that we did the Eagle View roof 2 years ago, last year. We did the high school roof 2 years ago, I believe. But with roofs and tuck pointings, those are big things for all of our buildings. There's no capital projects other than what we're looking at for the high school, but we'll have to bond for that anyway. And so that being in a deficit is just, we're gonna pay down some of that money. IMRF is only $37,000 in the deficit. As we said as the auditors, we were extremely strong in that fund, having a deficit of $37,000. The auditors will say we're really strong in that fund still next year. So that's not an issue. And in the education fund, we're $474,000 in the red. However, I want to remind everyone that last year we were projecting $700,000 in the red, and the year before that I think it was $800,000, and we've been in the black both of those years. So this is a worst case scenario. It's kind of hard to judge with the COVID monies coming in and out and things of that nature, but I believe that this is, will most likely be in the black in the education fund. But if we do with this worst case scenario of the $25 million, $284,800 projected revenue, we're going to be just about 1.2 million, which is 4%, which is not much. And again, that's the worst case scenario. I believe that we'll not be under, we will be in the red in our capital projects, but that's because we know that. We're doing that middle school roof, and it's money well spent. So questions, concerns, comments on any of the budgets?
No? Anyone? No?
Okay.
Now it's time for public comments and questions. Anyone have anything from the public? Hearing none, we'll move along, and that will conclude our budget hearing for this year. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Thanks, Scott. I have a motion from the birthday boy. Do I hear a second? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it out loud.
I'll second.
Thank you, Adam. Roll call, please.
Adam Pumpkin.
Yes.
Tammy Hines.
Yes.
Andrea Corey.
Yes.
Greg Meyer.
Yes.
Scott Middlecamp.
Aye.
Lisa Schumacher.
Yes.
Tyson Search.
That was fairly painless, so go on and we'll now call the regular meeting to order. Can you do another roll call, please? Make sure nobody snuck out.
Adam Pumpkin.
Here.
Tammy Hines.
Here.
Andrea Corey. Here. Greg Meyer.
Here.
Scott Middlecamp.
Here.
Lisa Schumacher. Here. Tyson Search.
All right, we're still good, so that's a quorum. Welcome again, visitors. Been a long time. Hope you guys been doing well. All right, I didn't hear any public comments before. Do I have any now? No, you guys are a lively bunch. All right. We'll go right into our consent agenda. Scott, if you'd walk us through that.
So you've got your minutes and your finances. All of those are as per usual. We have the resignations. On the list that I emailed out last week, we need to add Kristen Schaefer, our district payroll bookkeeper is going back to the city, so I just want that duly noted. And for employment of educational support personnel, we're also adding Dave Jackson onto the list. He was a late addition, but he's on the agenda as well. So our vacancies are still cooks at Eagle View, paraprofessionals at CMS, although I think Dave filled that one, didn't he? Yeah, so the paraprofessional at CMS is gone. And then we do still have a bookkeeper position for payroll. That said, the administration recommends the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Did you get that change done on the expenditures that I talked to you about
Yes.
yesterday?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's actually in this pile. Lisa Schumacher pointed out to me that we had the roof project in the Fund 20 and in Fund 60. And it's going to be coming out of Fund 60, which is where it's budgeted. So the purchase order for Fund 20 has been removed. Thank you for that. With that change, administration recommends the board approve the consent agenda.
Okay, perfect. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And amended?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Jamie Hines? Yes. Andrea Corey?
Yes.
Greg Meyer?
Yes.
Scott Middlecamp?
Aye.
Lisa Schumacher?
Yes.
Tyson Search? Adam Hemken?
Perfect. That carries. Go on to item 6 is our communication report and presentations. Enrollment report is in your packet. And we'll go to the administrative reports. I think we have a building report to start with. Hello. Welcome.
I met you all a long time ago when you hired me, but I'm Erin Benny, the principal at Eagle View. With me tonight is Mrs. Amy Freeze, and we are going to just share just how the year's gotten started. So as a reminder, Eagle View is pre-K through first grade, so we're the ones that lay the foundation, get everybody ready to learn, and that's what we've been focusing on for this last month. It's been a wonderful start to the year. We have already completed our fall benchmarking. We've already implemented lots of student support services. As you know, we've expanded to where we can have a full-time school counselor, and that's been fantastic. We call him Mr. Josh, it's Joshua Kurth. He's right along playing with the kids at recess, having lunch with everybody, and it's just been really great. We've been implementing PBIS, as you know, it's a district initiative, and so with the little ones, we started off with more of a community, like whole class initiative with that, and now we're starting to grow into learning about like individual behaviors and how we impacted each other on the community. So we'll have some pictures that we can share with you. Amy's going to talk a little bit more about some specific pieces, and I'll chime in here and there.
Awesome. Again, my name's Amy Freese. I think I've met pretty much everybody of you last couple times, and I teach early childhood. The first set of pictures, a lot of it is with the pre-K classes, and including my class as well. We discussed apples, as a fall theme. We cut apples, showed them the stars, seeds. We learned the parts. We made applesauce, apple pies. My class didn't really care for a lot of the apple pie stuff, but it
I
was
thought they looked beautiful.
They were great. They were out of biscuits, so they weren't even pie material. But anyway, we learned a lot, and the kids loved it. You can see all the hands-on stuff. One student in the far right there is looking at the apple with a magnifying glass, which is awesome, discovering the parts that way. So, we're learning the rules. Beginning of the year is all about learning rules, following directions, playing well with others, and now we're on to doing some fun learning with that. Kindergarten day, or with the kindergarten,
Can I
they
chime in
had.
one quick?
Oh,
We're going to go
sorry.
to the next slide. Sorry. One, can you go back to slide 1 just real quick? The top left corner, sorry, I organized these slides. They're kind of like thematically. So we have our experiential learning here, and that continues into our music curriculum. They've been exploring world music through like Latin America and Caribbean countries, so they were doing some hand drumming and other pieces like that. Okay, now we'll jump into kindergarten.
And
Sorry
well,
about
when
that.
you're talking about music, Mrs. Hughes also told me that she's teaching the kindergartners the 4 voices, which is like whispering, talking, singing, and calling, in a proper, healthy way, as well as feeling and finding the steady beat. That's what she's doing with kindergarten. And so along with that, with the music for first grade, she's exploring steady beat, no steady beat rhythms, and loud and soft. And reviewing and experiencing the basics of music. So,
Did you know yesterday was Talk Like a Pirate Day? Did you all observe? Oh, yeah. We did at Eagle View. Actually, might have been day before now. So, yeah, if you had driven by Eagle View at any point, you saw some pirate treasure hunting going on. It had to do with literacy, so it was really great, the integration of that.
Great. So yes, in the first grade, or kindergarten, I'll go to kindergarten. I don't know if that's on this slide.
Kindergarten's on the left, but
Oh.
we have some others coming in.
Okay, so kindergarten had Grandparents' Day recently. I think that's on the next slide,
Yeah.
maybe. That was a huge success, and that was awesome to get parents back in the building. You know, obviously since COVID, there's
go.
been minimal amounts. So grandparents, I think they loved it and they enjoyed it. They did things like having donuts. They read stories with them. They danced to music. They did arts and crafts. And I also think a couple of the kindergarten classrooms had parent night. Is that correct?
Yep, Mrs. Royce and Mrs. Turner, they both hosted a family night, and I was able to stay for that too. That was really fun. So the hallway was just lined with various, their games, their chess, checkers, some STEM kind of activities to do, some literacy centers, and so it was just a great time for people to come with their families and learn together in the classroom.
Awesome. And then first grade, I know they did some quill writing,
you
which
go
I think
back
was back on one of these slides, which, you know, they in the top right, they were using doing the quill writing, and then what else did they do with it?
So it came out of, they were, the story that they were reading was Curious George at School. And so Mrs. Worsham, this is from her class, she started talking about what school is like during different time periods. And obviously they've been working really hard on nice handwriting with their pencils. And she's like, well, check this out. So they did some quill writing and it was a hit. I think they have a newfound appreciation for pencils.
And then first grade, coming up for first grade, the teachers are organizing a Community Helpers Day. That's actually coming up this Monday, where like the EMS, police and fire come to Eagle View and they station outside and there's groups and you rotate from one to the next. I know last year the big hit was the drone from, I guess, the fire, I think it was the fire station. They had this drone that went off. That was the big hit. And of course the police chief's dog, or not the police chief, but Police Hopkins' dog. But so anyway, those were the big hits from last year. And it's nice too because field trips, everybody can have one field trip a year, and this is nice because we can bring community members in, they can learn about them, and it's kind of like a fun field trip day. So that's coming up. I have two more to give you.
No, we can go to the next slide real quick. I mentioned PBIS earlier, so this is a nice view of our Eagle Buck at Eagle View. So you'll see different Eagle Bucks in different places. Our children don't really have the concept of money just yet, but we're really working on 10 frames. And so one of our teachers, Kelly Search, customized this. And so these will be the Eagle Bucks that they will use. And like I said earlier, we've been doing class-wide incentives. And so Mr. Kurth, Mr. Josh is up in the top right, and Officer Roach was around too. So we went around once they had all met their class goal, and they had a choice of extra recess and popsicles. And you can see what they chose. Some of them they were very intelligent. They're like, can we have our popsicles outside? We're like, that's great. Synergy, I love it. So it's been a wonderful treat, and it was a really good bonding time also, especially for our new SRO Officer Roach to come in and to get to know the kids in that kind of capacity. All right, can we go one more? Yep. And I think, is that the last one for us? Yeah. Okay, so you have your last piece?
Yes, and in PE, the kids are working on following directions and their motor skills, catching and throwing. And I didn't want to leave anybody out, so speech, and that's a big component of like my classroom as well. The speech ladies in our building are fabulous. I have a lot of children with, that are nonverbal, and so we have talking devices. And the speech therapists are awesome, showing us how to use the communication devices in the classrooms and throughout the day, and they're also working great with the parents and showing them how to use those. That's great. And then speech is also doing, Mrs. Meisner is also doing a group thing with Mrs. Dill in her room. So they do, like if we're talking about apples, the speech will have a center and some of the kids come to her for some apple speech, and then they go to the physical therapist in the room and the occupational therapist in the room. So they're doing group themed work to incorporate their physical therapy and occupational therapy, because sometimes that isn't as much fun sometimes. So if you're doing it in a theme basis, it makes it more enjoyable for the kids.
To wrap it up, obviously I'm biased, but Eagle View is the best place for a kid to start their learning journeys. I have never worked in a building that's more collaborative and has everybody on board with supporting their kids in whatever way possible. We always talk in the district, it's not your kids or my kids, it's our kids, and that's something that we very much live and breathe every day. So it's been a fabulous start, and I look forward to talking to you at the end of the year to talk about how much they've grown this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Currently what we're kind of working on and focusing on is next Friday, September 30th, is our first half day. So if you remember last year, we had the early out on Wednesdays for PLCs. We decided to restructure that time. An hour of time is really hard to get any quality professional development or professional learning done during that time. So we restructured those. So this coming Friday is our first one. And so the teachers will have time for meetings with their teams. And then in the afternoon, they will also then work on some more PBIS training by building wise. And so, like Eric was saying, their Eagle Bucks are a little different. The way things are rolled out are a little bit different in every building. So it's just some additional time for the administrators and the teachers to work together, the PBIS team to kind of lead them through that. So we're excited about our first half day. We have a book study currently going on. So we're doing Gary Brooks, who I don't know if you've seen him or not. He's a principal in Kentucky, but he's also a social media, YouTube comedian star kind of thing. He was in Edwardsville this summer, and several of the teachers went to see him put on kind of a motivational, but really kind of getting to the heart of some bigger educational topics. And so we're doing a book study on his book right now, and I'm excited. We have 41 people participating in that book study currently. We're on week 2 right now, so it's been great. It's a lot of interacting, commenting, but just getting to see what each other thinks and all that. I want to give a shout out to all of our K-4 teachers and the middle school math teachers. We've started implementing our new math curriculum. We've had some hurdles with shipping, as like we got semester 2 books in and not semester 1, and so I cannot be more thankful to those teachers for being flexible, for, we've gotten like the digital resources and they're doing what they need to do. But also change is hard, right? And anything is new, but a new curriculum, especially when it's math, is incredibly difficult. And I cannot say enough about how positive the teachers are with working through this. They hit a roadblock. They'll email me or they'll talk with each other on their teams. They're reaching out in other ways. It's just been fantastic. And then I have a couple pictures for you to shout out a couple other things. So the top left corner is our dramatic playroom at Eagle View, which is so awesome. This is a vital component. Our kindergarten teachers are required to do the KIDS assessment, which is an Illinois required kindergarten state assessment. And a lot of that data has to come from watching kids play and interact and how they are building those foundational social skills. So Sarah Chudd, one of our kindergarten teachers, helped kind of set it up, but she also went through and made like videos of here's what you could do at these different stations. And there's a restaurant and a doctor's office and there's all kinds of things. But it's awesome. All of the classrooms are utilized in this room. Our first grade, I was over there the other day, and this is actually one of our first grade classrooms utilizing it. And the teacher was making notes of social emotional growth and watching the students interact. Because, right, we're responsible for educating that whole child, not just with math and reading and all of that kind of stuff. The bottom right corner is a picture of, we have an ELL student this year at Parkview. And she speaks very little English. She can speak in her native language and listen to it, but she cannot read her native language, so it's presented some challenges. And so I cannot say enough about Megan Boyles is her teacher. Michelle Gillum, who is our school psychologist, has been helping us out, and Kim Lentz and Mr. Dugan. We've met together as a team. We've been trying things out. Megan and I touch base all the time, and I'm like, okay, let's try this. And we'll try it, and she'll email me, and she'll either be like, yep, that was great, or she's like, didn't work. I'm like, okay, back to the drawing board. And she just keeps trying and going. But I walked into the room the other day to watch this little girl and help her out with morning work time. And she was actually helping the little girl next to her because one of her strengths is math. And she knows her math facts, and they were doing a multiplication worksheet. And so one of the other little girls in the class was struggling with her math fact worksheet. And our ELL student, who, again, has very little English communication, but they were partnering and working together, and she was showing her and drawing pictures for her. It melted my heart as an educator to walk in and see that happening. The top picture is Tracy Hayes and Sarah Stumpf from our two secretaries from the middle school. So all of our secretaries are amazing and do so much. These two have willingly taken on my crazy ideas. I'll come up with trying to problem solve something, whether it's with our ASAP system or things going on in Skyward, and I'll have it figured out, and I'll run over to them and I'm like, okay, from a secretary standpoint, does this work? What do you think? And they'll try it, and same thing. They'll give me feedback, we'll go back, or they'll email me with suggestions. So I cannot say enough about how much I appreciate those two helping me with my craziness. And the bottom picture is a picture from the high school. And so our PBIS team at the high school has really taken to getting the kids involved in different activities. But so on Fridays, they have a rotation, and depends on the grade level, but they are either doing Foursquare, a rock, paper, scissors competition, trivia, or what am I missing? Not jumping, okay. So they have these competitions on Friday. They're great. The classrooms are earning points. The homerooms are earning points in competitions. But they also on Mondays do PBIS, and they are working on doing a positive act. So like, I don't know if you've heard the talk about filling people's buckets, right? And like doing a positive act. And so the homerooms on Monday were deciding what positive act they were going to do and getting the kids involved. But so all month they earn reward or earn points. So they get them for these games, they get them for positive referrals. There's a name tag activity that they created. And then at the end of the month, there will be winners, but there will be an assembly where there will be the Foursquare champions from each grade level will take on each other. So bringing in that competition that high school enjoys and thrives on, but totally weaving through the concepts of PBIS. And that's all. We have 12 members on that high school PBIS team that have come up with all of this. They're organizing it. It's just been amazing. When I've been over there, I was like, oh, I don't know if these high school kids are going to jump these cones and play rock, paper, scissors. And like, I was downstairs in the hallway, and the hallway upstairs I thought was going to come through the floor. Like, they were just all in. And so I think that goes to those teachers and all of the homeroom teachers, though, really getting their kids excited and hyped up and all that. So a ton of fantastic things going on in our district right now. And I know I talked a lot, so I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Drew.
All right. It's wonderful to hear everything that's going on in the buildings, because I have to be honest, I've not been in the buildings as much as I've wanted to be. The staffing at the district office and everything that goes with that change has kind of pulled my focus. I appreciate everyone that stepped up, the flexibility and the understandings that's been given during this time. Kim and Kristen have been excellent in the time that they've been here. Sadly, Kristen is going back to the city. We'll miss her as she transitions back to the city. I do want you to know that Julie's agreed to continue the contractual services that we need from her as while we find Kristen's replacement. Change is never easy, but it happens, and we're going to make it through. So that said, we did have an item that's been tabled, the topographical survey. That's off the agenda. It's not coming back until it might need to come back. We kind of have done as much as we can without a topographical survey, and what we're doing is now we're looking at the building, because before you really need to know what topographically needs to happen with the parking lots and everything, you need to know how much you need to expand. And so an inside look to see what we move to might call for a topographical survey later, but we're not going to do it at this time. And we'll talk more about the programmatic piece when we're at that action step. We will have closed session today to discuss legal issues and student discipline. However, there's no action afterwards. So that's pretty much my report, short and sweet. I've been really just focused on the district office.
Sure, thank you. All right, item 7 is items for action. We'll start off with the approval of the 2022-2023 school budget.
Yeah, I think I went over everything at the hearing. Administration recommends the board approve the budget for the 22-23 school year as presented.
Any questions? What's concerned? All right, with that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the budget as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Lisa. Try your second.
I'll second.
Tammy seconds. A roll call, please.
Andrea Corey?
Yes.
Greg Meyer?
Yes.
Scott Middlecamp?
Aye.
Lisa Schumacher?
Yes.
Tyson Search?
Yes.
Adam Humpkin?
Yes.
Tammy Hines.
Yes.
Perfect. Motion carries unanimously. All right, item B is approval of the administrator and teacher salary and benefit report.
This is one of those yearly reports that we will post on the website once you have approved it. It's been put together, it is accurate. Administration recommends the board approves the administrator and teacher salary and benefits report.
Any questions or comments? Sure, we had a chance to look that over, so I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Tammy makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Adam seconds. Roll call, please.
Greg Meyer.
Yes.
Scott Middlecamp.
Aye.
Lisa Schumacher.
Yes.
Tyson Search. Adam Humpkin.
Yes.
Tammy Hines.
Yes.
Andrea Corey. Yes.
All right, item C is always a fun one this time of year as we appoint our IASB delegate.
Yeah, at the joint conference that they have in November, one of you, typically the secretary, goes and represents the board. At the next month, we will be discussing various resolutions that the Illinois Association of School Board is considering. You guys will come to a consensus, and then you need a representative to make that vote at the joint conference. Administration believes that it's always worked out with the secretary doing well, and since Tammy Hines is going to the conference, and she is the secretary, administration recommends the board approve Tammy Hines, the board secretary, as the board representative.
Would anybody like to volunteer Tammy for her? I assume you're okay with that?
I'm fine. Unless someone else wants to.
I'll make the motion.
Andrew? Before somebody points finger at you, right? All right, we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Motion carries unanimously. All right, and D is approval of the project authorization with FGM Architects for the expansion of the Columbia High School.
Yeah, and you guys had that in your packet. Adam did have two things that needed to be looked into. So 3.22, where it's fees and expenses of consultants not included in this proposal. We asked who that would be, and they said really just Brick Partnership, which is our mechanical engineering consultants that we may need. We also asked if we would be involved in the conversations before we agreed to service them. And they said, yeah, we would be involved in the conversations before that. And then the second one was 3.5. This proposal is based on 60 days and 6 months, and so the timeline was kind of a question. And they said they'll have the deliverables by the end of this school year. So we should know what we need by the January board meeting, I would think. With those two clarifications, I do
End
want to thank.
of the calendar year?
Yes,
Okay, not school year.
yeah, December.
Right, you
Did I
said
say
school.
school year?
Yeah,
I meant calendar year.
yeah, okay.
That's why January would be when
Yeah,
we would have the
yeah,
presentation.
perfect.
Thank you for picking up on that.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
6 months, so.
Gotcha.
We didn't know if it's new math or not, that's all.
There is no curriculum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, administration recommends that we approve the project authorization with FGM Architects.
And the changes Adam came up with have already been incorporated.
Clarified,
Clarified.
they were, yeah, and so they were fine with them, you were fine with
Yeah,
the
they did
responses
not,
that we got.
they did not revise the language in their proposal,
But they just clarified.
but we do have it
Okay.
in writing, the clarifications in writing, so.
Perfect. All right. Anybody, discussion, comments, concerns? Would anybody like to make
So,
it?
I think before we go, so just for everyone's awareness, so that, I don't know if we're gonna talk more about that. So
No,
it's basically
please.
just that first step of them helping us put the concepts and the drawings and, having an architect and engineer and some other trained professionals give us an idea of what's feasible, what's not feasible, and I call it a concept phase or concept drawing, that'll help us benchmark where we wanna go from there, so. That's really the reason for this portion. It's not a commitment to do any construction or anything like that. It's really just expansion of the discovery phase, so.
And this goes hand in hand with our ongoing discussion of our preparing for the future and what are our best options. So, as Em said, this is just more of an exploratory thing, taking the next step. But
And it says rendering, so do they draw what it's gonna look like?
Yeah, so they'll have I guess, images of the, what options they think are feasible based on what we tell them is the general desires or the general requirement. And this will have space allocations, and then things like what will work with existing space and how, how many people would different rooms accommodate, that type of detailed information that we'll need to really be able to say, does this meet our, our needs if we grow this much versus, 2 times that much, and what kind of timelines and how it would fit within the space of our property.
Okay, will they also put the floor plan together to see how many classrooms we can get in there?
Yeah,
Okay.
that should all be part of it from a high level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the preliminary plans we have, was that distributed to the board or just us?
Just you.
Just the committee, okay. All right, so
I
they
can
have.
forward that along, though.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. They did have some preliminary plans where they're suggested where we could expand, build, move parking lots, that sort of thing. So Adam's actually done a great job, and him and Chris actually walked the property and looked at a lot of the elevations and said, yep, this will work, this won't work. Go back, and they have had some really creative ideas as well to save us some money and improve the space. And again, we had a committee, myself, Adam, and Chris have been working quite a bit on this, and I want to thank Adam. I was going to do that later, but go ahead and do that now. But he's really done a great job in revising all this, and even the preliminary plans kind of rearranging and say this will work, this won't work, and making some good, really, really good suggestions that it's very rewarding to see progress and not just rubber stamp. Right? We're actually a working group that I think is making a difference. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and that's part of the reason we're at this phase now. Like Chris said, we went away from the topographical, project, and this isn't going to be that far different as far as the cost of what those maps were going to cost versus this. So this gives us a better idea. Do we need a topo of the entire thing or only a portion of the property? What all do we need? So this definitely helps us better define exactly what we need to ask for, so we're not buying something we don't need and not missing something we do need. So
Do we know any more about the right turn lane?
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
It's not, okay.
No. And I don't know if it, we're looking at other solutions for that. But that's all going to come out, I think. I mean, that's, as we're doing all of this, we're looking at the footprint of this, but then are there ways that we can structure the traffic and whatnot to make that better, so.
I wouldn't anticipate a traffic study after this phase.
You
from the
would.
traffic flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of nail down exactly, instead of kind of speculating and testing it, does it work by trial and error? I think if we're going to plan for growth in an area that's already congested during our high traffic times, beginning and end of the day, I think we will end up there with getting a traffic study to see if some areas being one direction, if we need to widen some things, different alternatives. I would anticipate that after this phase.
Ms. Smith and I had a meeting with Douglas Brim and Chris from the city and looked over those plans a little bit, and we discussed the traffic, and so the school's working with the city as well to try and make sure that what gets done is best for everyone.
Thank you.
Good conversation. Anyone else? Anybody like to make a motion to approve the project authorization with FGM Architects?
I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Thank you, Adam.
A second.
Tyson seconds. Roll call, please.
Scott Middleton.
Aye.
Mrs. Schumacher.
Yes.
Tyson Search.
Yes.
Adam Pumpkin.
Yes.
Tammy Hines.
Yes.
Andrea Corey.
Yes.
Greg Meyer.
Yes. All right, motion carries unanimously. Item E is our approval of the resolution for signatory powers for the safety deposit box access.
Yeah, and so we have an activity fund account, and so we need to change out our building principals in 2 of the buildings to make sure that Ms. Venny and Ms. Miller are on the activity funds accounts. We also, while we were doing that, we're going to add Ms. Smith to what I call the big account, and also for the safety deposit box. And then there's some other accounts that we need to get me added to that are, they're really just electronic accounts where RevTrack, when you make a deposit to get your kids' lunch money, it goes into this account and then it gets transferred over. So we have a couple of accounts there that I need to be added to. And so this resolution would allow those things to happen, and I can go to Commerce Bank and make sure that all those people are on the signatory sheets. So the recommendation, administration recommends the board approve the resolution for signatory powers and safe deposit box access as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Wow, moving right along. All right, roll call, please.
Adam Hempkin,
Yes.
Tammy Hines.
Yes.
Andrea Corey. Yes. Greg Meyer.
Yes.
Scott Middlecamp.
Aye.
Lisa Schumacher.
Yes.
Tyson Search.
Okay, letter F is the adoption of the teacher's retirement system of the State of Illinois Supplemental Savings Plan.
Yeah, last year, the state of Illinois started a supplemental savings plan. For education, we do 403Bs instead of 401Ks. And so the teacher retirement system has a 403B that teachers can put into. They're looking at mainly the tier 2 employees and letting them put other money aside for themselves. This is a state mandated thing. I believe this is also Ms. Schumacher's second question. I thought that the name Kristen Schaefer was on the teacher when you said the teacher report. I was in the car and I wasn't looking at the agenda, and so I thought she was, but she was clearly talking about this one. And what we're going to do is the resolution will give me the authorized officer, and on the sheet of paper that you have in your board packet, it does have Kristen Schaefer as one of the people that the TRS would work with. That name will change when we have an employee that we hire for that. But what you're really approving is that I am the authorized agent, and then I would authorize my district office staff to be able to do that. So if that makes sense, what I'm saying is administration recommends the board approve the teacher retirement system of the state of Illinois supplemental savings plan with the superintendent, Chris Grody, as the authorized officer, which goes along with the resolution that you have. And then
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Andrea. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconds. Roll call, please.
Tammy Hines.
Yes.
Andrea Corey.
Yes.
Greg Meyer.
Yes.
Scott Middlecamp.
Aye.
Lisa Schumacher.
Yes.
Tyson Search. Adam Hempkin.
Yes.
I do want to jump in real quick and say that Ms. Smith did get TRS to come down and talk to our employees. When is that going to be?
December 16th.
December 16th, and I can't imagine them not mentioning the supplemental savings plan and when they meet with the employees. But I think that that's going to be a really nice event for the teachers to get an update of what's going on. So thank you for that.
Perfect. All right. Item G is the approval of our school improvement plans for 2022-2023.
Yeah, I'm going to turn this one over to Ms. Smith to talk more about than me.
So in your packet, you'll see the first one is the list of our district-wide goals, and they really revolve around 5 big themes. So culture and climate of our district, PBIS, the new math curriculum, professional development, and student growth. So as we set up the professional development and make decisions this year in the district, these are our guiding principles that we're using. So these were then provided to the building administrators, and each building then had a team, and they were asked to, as a team, review these goals and then set a few that they wanted to focus on in their building. And so then what you have in your packet are the building goals for each building, but you'll see that they all connect back to one of these 5 district overarching goals. Questions?
I have one.
Yes.
So, and this is just, I guess every word has a meaning. So 2 of the different goals, it actually starts with to create a climate. And I guess that leads me to think that that climate doesn't currently exist. Or are we building or expanding or enhancing or bolstening?
So it kind of depends. Some of it, there are components that I would say don't necessarily exist. And then there are parts that we need to revamp and change, especially like that very first one with the culture and climate. COVID was hard on everyone. there's been a lot going on, right, in the district that's been hard on students, on staff, on administrators. And so we're kind of wanting to almost like scratch and start new. So that's kind of where part of that create came from. So not to say that there's never been empathy or inclusion in the district, but some of those areas we kind of want to start fresh and start over again, kind of with a clean slate.
Okay, so that one I actually kind of
Sure.
could make that assumption. But the third one is just kind of the same on the third bullet, where it says monthly activities will help create a culture of inclusion, empathy, and professionalism.
Are you on a specific building?
On Parkview, sorry,
Okay.
the third bullet. So that one definitely implies that we don't have a culture of inclusion, empathy, and professionalism.
Sure. And I don't know if that was, like I said, that was written by that committee. So I don't know if they're thinking like clean slate, we're gonna start fresh with what that is. But yeah, I'm sure they were just taking the wording from the first one on the district plan and going with it from there.
It's not an objection, just.
Yeah, sure.
kind of-
Well, I love this. I think this is great. And I love the specifics, especially on Eagle View, so way to go on that. I would love to see at the end of the year where each school feels like they ended up. And I know we started this several years ago, and we never really ended up coming together because of COVID. But I think this is way more specific than what we had before. And so it's exciting to see, hey, these are, I like the ones that are more detailed, of course, rather than the more general ones. But it's exciting. I think it's even exciting for the buildings and for the teachers to have these goals that they can now see in writing and go for. I think that's really awesome, so.
To interject, it just really helps because, I mean, there's so much you could do and you can't like do everything.
Right.
So it really helps narrow our focus and make sure not only that we're honoring our district's growth and development, but also keeping our eyes on the prize in the building as well. Not that those are the only things we focus on, but those are kind of our guideposts along the way. Helps me tremendously as a new principal.
I love it. Way to go.
Any other discussion? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the school improvement plan as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Lisa. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tammy. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, perfect. Motion carries unanimously. All right, that concludes our action items. Now we're on to discussion items. Revert back to the facility study. We kind of touched base.
I'll just really quickly tell the board that I will email the plans out to you all. And if you've got questions, concerns, comments, call me or Mr. Myers or Mr. Hemken.
Good enough. All right. Individual board member comments. Anybody have anything they'd like to share this evening?
I do. I just wanted to let everybody know here and whoever's watching that at the end of my term in April, I'm going to retire from the board. So it seems like a long way off, and it really isn't, because when it comes to, as folks here know, when it comes to getting signatures and getting on the ballot and doing those kinds of things, that's right around the corner. So, but I just want to get that out there and let everybody know that I'll be hanging it up. I said retiring at home, and they said, from work? And I'm like, no, not yet. Yeah.
And
Thanks.
you'll be 15 years completed? Was it 15?
I don't know if it's 15 or, I'm not sure. Because I started,
16 because they're 4-year terms.
no, I started in mid of a, I started in the
Yeah,
middle of a term.
midway in a term.
Oh, well then.
Yeah, so I think yeah, it's a
It's up there.
it's a long time. It's a long time.
You didn't catch Karen, but you're pretty close.
Yeah, my oldest was in school, and she's turning 30 next month. So I'm sure she's loving me telling that. But or turning 30 December 5th. So
Well, thanks for your service.
Thank you for your service.
wow.
I think you
After
finished till
April.
Anyone else?
I was going to say something about the math curriculum, but Alyssa already answered that during her. But I do like your high energy. I love it. I love your high energy.
She keeps us all going.
I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. Board prerogative, couple things actually. So number one, I do want to let everybody know how proud I am of this board. You guys all work together. You take your job seriously. You do your homework. You go through all this packet. I mean, everybody really cares. I think we really mesh well together, and we all come from a diverse background and really feed off each other. And I'm just really proud of all of you guys. So I just wanted to put that out. And Scott, thank you all for your service.
Sure.
You definitely will be missed on next year when it comes time, because I mean your knowledge has been just fantastic, and I thank you for
appreciate
your
that.
service. And the administration, Mr. Grody, you have, and Mrs. Smith, you guys have done a great job. I know there's been a lot of challenges with employment and curveballs thrown your way, and you guys just stay in the trenches and hammer it out, and thank you for all that you guys do. So one thing I don't think anybody mentioned also is we were able to, with the running of the district, on everybody's part, we're able to reduce our tax burden on the citizens by 60 cents. Is that correct? So everybody notices when we raise taxes, but when we lower taxes, it's kind of a quiet deal. So
Nobody
I'm going
says
to,
that word.
Well, it didn't happen very often. So but
Right.
again, another reason why I'm proud of the board and the administration and everybody in the district for making that happen. So it's there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. We're all paid very well, as everybody knows. Getting no pay at all, but I mean, it's our work is paying off, and it's really it's a good moment. So proud of everybody. So anyway, enough of my soapbox. So that's it for me. We do have an executive session this evening, and we're going to go into the executive session for the purpose of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, 5 ILCS 120/2C1. With that, I would entertain a motion to enter executive session.
So moved.
Thanks, Scott. Or a second?
Second.
Andrew beat you to it. Roll call, please.
Adam Humpkin.
Yes.
Tammy Hines.
Yes.
Andrea Corey.
Yes.
Craig Meyer.
Yes.
Scott Middlecamp.
Aye.
Lisa Schumacher.
Yes.
Tyson Search.
Oh, perfect. As Mr. Grody said, we do have a couple items to discuss in executive session, but there's no action items. You guys are more than welcome to come back in and watch us adjourn, but fully understand if you don't want to as well. So.
Thank you.
Back on. Time is 8:55. We are back in regular session. We just completed our executive session. There's no action items as a result. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tyson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. No.
Everybody second. All right, perfect. Andrew, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day.